Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
I'm Shan Northrup, mixer and producer here at Golden State Media Concepts, and today we are bringing you the best of basketball 2016.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and so before the break, I mentioned that the Tennessee Vols are a major team in Tennessee. Like, they're orange, everybody kind of knows them, and they've always been really successful in their sports and their athletics program. But so Pat Summitt, I did discuss the legendary Pat Summitt previously in an episode when she passed away, and now Coach Pat is someone who has influenced the game of not just women's basketball, but basketball in general, especially at the collegiate level, and actually really at the professional level, especially in the WNBA, because all of her successful ball players at the college level have gone on to be major dominating factors in the WNBA. So she has an amazing resume. She's been at Tennessee, like I said, for years. And now the state of Tennessee loves her. She has done a lot more for the university, the state, the community, than just basketball, and just more than just her basketball team, right? And her players. So the really cool thing about it is, what I'm going to just share right now is that the football team, the Volunteers football team, has released and debuted the sticker that they're going to have on their football helmets in honor of Pat Summitt. So, okay, so this is cool on many levels, because it's just cool because, one, she is a basketball coach and this is a football team, and two, she's a female basketball coach and this is a male dominated sport that's going to be honoring her. So it just goes to show what kind of influence that Coach Pat had on that entire school, that entire university. And so it's really cool because like the coach was saying that, you know, they really believe in and honor everything that she believed in and what she stood for, and that they are honored to be honoring her with this sticker. And now the sticker is pretty cool. It's orange, has a P in it, which I just think is cute. Of course I would. I don't know if these stickers are going to be made available to the public. Marketing wise, I think that would be awesome because, one, I want it. Two, I believe that there's other major Pat Summitt fans and just Tennessee fans in general, or just people who understand her influence and who were influenced by her, that would want a sticker honoring her. And it's just a cool gesture. It's a really awesome gesture that they're doing to honor her, and just give, you know, a way to a way to honor her, and to honor the influence that she had, and to honor the impact, and to show what kind of an impact that this woman did have on the university. And so I really wanted to share that because I just thought it was really, really cool. And they have debuted the stickers. They haven't they've showed pictures on Twitter. So if you go on the Tennessee's Twitter, the Volunteers Twitter account, you can see for yourself. I will also post a picture of that on Twitter so that you guys can see it on our Twitter account at GSMC_basketball. So quick and easy viewing for you guys. But I did want to share that because we did touch on her influence that she has had in the basketball world, and I just thought it was great that her influence is continuing.
You have been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Best of Basketball Podcast 2016.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch, whatever it may be.
I wanted to discuss whether or not basketball players, NBA players, their coaches, the players, whatever, the staff, everyone involved, whether or not ball players need to be rested, need to sit out just to rest. Now, this has been something that we've discussed and we've talked about in previous episodes before, but basically, do players really need to be sitting out, like even now, this early in the season, to rest for, it may be bigger games or just so that they're not running down their bodies by the time postseason comes around. Now, my personal opinion is, I have two I have two personal opinions when it comes to this. So one, of course, my personal opinion, and it's up to the coach. Okay, it really is. And it's up to, the fact whether or not, if you are a key player and you're sitting out, can your replacement, can the rest of your team, can the guy that plays in for you, that subs in for you, carry that weight so it's as if you're not even missing? Now, that's the only way that if I were a coach, would I be okay with that, because I don't want to sacrifice losing a game just so a player who's healthy can rest. Now, if you are injured and things like that, that's a totally different thing. But I mean about just sitting. And now LeBron has been known to do this. He is a lover of having a rest period, especially before the postseason begins, so that he can rest. We've already discussed in a previous episode the fact that him and Coach Lou are discussing him not playing as many minutes throughout the regular season so that he does rest more, and that no matter what, the game, what's happening with the game is, of course, that they want to win, but want to preserve him and preserve the team in general, the players over there with the Cavaliers, and just making sure that everybody is feeling well rested for each game in and game out, and that they don't have to play the full time of each game, the maximum that, is deemed, whatever the maximum is deemed, with the least amount of breaks during the preseason. Now, I don't think it's a bad idea, a good idea. Like I said, I honestly think that it really has to depend on whether or not you are going to be that big of a missing factor that every time we sit you down and that you decide to just sit out a whole game that we know we're going to lose. I'm not okay with that, because I like to win. But then the flip side of that is that I really think that you should be conditioning your body, and you should be, as an athlete, as a professional athlete, each season, each game, each week. Now, I understand that they do go on like road trips, where they will play certain amount of games in so many days, and they're on the road and things like that, or even at home having a series of games at home every single night. I get that part, but you should also be using the time when you're not playing to rest, and to taking into consideration what you're eating, what you're doing in your off time in between practices before games to prepare, because you know that this is what's coming. And it's not like the season, the schedule for the season is not out. Like, you know what to expect, you know what's happening, you're getting paid. And that's kind of like what the basketball, the head coach over in Detroit with the Pistons, Stan Van Gundy, that's what he was saying. You know, you're getting paid to play 82 games. And as long as you are rested, then, I mean, as long as you're healthy, you will be playing, like expect to play. And so, and he was saying, and I quote, but we can actually rest guys other ways, like tomorrow. And this was in regards to what he was talking about. Like tomorrow, it will be a day off for us. That's a day of rest. And I think it can actually provide more rest for them than playing four fewer minutes tonight or something like that. And that's kind of like a piece that he had when he was getting asked about this topic. Now, and I agree. I don't know what playing now. There is a difference, and depending on how the game, the tempo of the game, and the physicality of the game, and how, you know, what game number this is in the series. Have they been traveling all night? Have they, you know, were they on a bus, on a plane, just traveling so far, whatever may have you, for a long period of time? I know that can affect, and then like the time differences and things like that. But at the same time, and I know it's physical, I know, but at the same time, you know, is there resting in basketball is my question. Is it okay for a player, not a LeBron, because, you know, LeBron kind of does his own thing. He's always going to do his own thing. He's always has done his own thing. That's different. So unless you are the king, is it just to have your rest days to say, oh, I'm not going to play for 2 or 3 more games because I'm preparing for when we play against the Cavaliers next week? I don't know. I kind of don't like it. It makes sense. But then I guess brings us back to that old question, that old notion on whether or not the NBA season should be shortened.
You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Best of Basketball Podcast 2016. Stay tuned for more.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And we're back. Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. Once again, I'm Pauline. And if you don't know, now you know, the Cavaliers are the kings of the court. You know, they finally brought it home for Cleveland, Believe Land. You know, it's been 54 years since there's been a championship in Cleveland. So I know they are hyped. Today was their parade day, which I'm sure is I'm sure. I don't know why it would stop. I mean, I would still be partying. If I was Cleveland, I would be partying for another 54 years just off this one championship. So I'm sure they're having a great time. And, you know, it was a really fun series. I did learn this series, especially if you've been sticking with me through these last couple of episodes. I am a terrible predictor on what's going to happen. The only thing that I said correctly in regards to the series was that I was hoping that it would go into a game 7, which it did, but I actually predicted in the beginning a sweep for the Golden State Warriors. That was wrong. I did also say that I wanted the Warriors to be able to play game 7 at home and win at home because they had an away win last year. So that was wrong as well. So next time you guys listen and I give a prediction, you should probably do opposite of what I say and you'll probably be all right. This game 7 of the NBA Finals was actually the game with the most like bets as far as like money is concerned. So it had the highest amount of money being bet on this game. So if you lost money, I'm sorry. If you won money, let's go out. Let's go celebrate since everybody's winning money except for me. So anyways, I was looking at tickets for the game for game 7, and they were going for like ridiculously high prices. But I mean, if you were in the arena and you're a Cavs fan, I'm sure it was worth it. So congratulations to you. I wish I could have been in there. That would have been a lot of fun. But anyway, so last time we spoke, it was up into game 5. So game 6 was played at home for the Cavaliers in Cleveland. They won 115-101. I think that game really picked up their momentum. That was a game that really solidified that they were not going down without a fight. They've been playing really hard these last few games, but that home game, I think, really gave them that extra boost to carry over into game 7 and to win this. Game 6 was also when Steph got fined for throwing his mouthpiece after a call that he did not like, which I kind of wish I was that fan that got hit with it. I don't know if it would have hurt. I guess maybe because he was throwing it kind of hard and it was a mouthpiece. But how cool would that be to say that you had Steph's mouthpiece? It's kind of gross, I guess, in a way. But if you're a fan, that's cool. You could auction it, I guess. You could keep it for yourself and just say that happened to you. Because, that mouthpiece is pretty famous thanks to Steph Curry. So, I think it would be kind of cool to have that mouthpiece for yourself. I don't know what I would do with it. Maybe put it in a case. Maybe ask him to sign, a paper or something to keep with it. I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and it's been kind of fun. Today actually has been the official start of the Paralympics in Rio, which is a lot of fun because it just takes place right after the Olympic Games, which were held in Rio, and we get to support Team USA and more phenomenal athletes, and to really get another chance to just continue on with our pride in the USA in your country's pride. And it's just a lot of fun to continue cheering on these phenomenal athletes as they compete in their own sports. Now, if you don't know, Team USA has both a men's and women's wheelchair basketball teams that compete in national events. They compete in international events. There is also competitive wheelchair basketball that some schools host and things like that. So wheelchair basketball is actually a lot of fun. If you've never seen any game, you are truly missing out because it's a lot of fun. And some of these athletes, because they're so strong and because they have extra equipment, they have their wheelchairs that they have to push and things like that, and they also dribble the basketball. They do everything that you would expect to see in a basketball game. The hoops are still the same height. It's really incredible the feats that these athletes can just I don't know what I'm trying to say, and I don't know how I'm trying to say it, but I'm just saying that if you have been missing out, if you have not watched wheelchair basketball, then you are truly missing out on a really competitive sport. You're missing out on a competitive event. You're missing out on some really phenomenal athleticism that these athletes showcase. And so today was the first official day of the Paralympics. And so there's a couple of events going on today, including the prelims for Group A and Group B of the wheelchair basketball for both our men's and women's teams. Now, when it comes to wheelchair basketball, there's different classifications there's a few different rules that they have when that differ a little bit, but basically there's a lot of things that are the same. And like I said, so some of the things that are the same is that the hoop is at the same height. Okay, so we already think it's incredible and cool when guys are, 6'10", even taller than that, are competing and playing on a 10-foot hoop. But can you imagine having like these wheelchair basketball players and their shoot, like it's not lower. There's no that, like the arc is still the same. They have a lot of the same rules. You can travel in wheelchair basketball. It's just really, really cool. Like there's different levels. They call them classifications of, so you can only have, a certain amount, like the classifications of each athlete give them a certain amount of points. And so there's different levels in the athlete's competitiveness, depending on like their skill level, their strength level, there's different levels that they evaluate when you are a wheelchair basketball player. And then on the court, you can only have a certain amount of points. I believe it's 14. So the players on the court equal up to 14. So there's a little bit different things that, of course, that they some things that they adapt to these athletes. But other than that, it's basically a great game of basketball. And I'm really excited to be talking about this right now because I have been waiting for wheelchair basketball to start. And I've been tweeting about it. I've been tweeting about this. I don't think I've quite mentioned it on the air yet, but I'm very excited today because today was the prelims, and so far the women's prelims have gone on, the Group A and Group B, and now Team USA women's wheelchair basketball team, our basketball team, is in Group B, which is totally fine. And so today they played against France. Now get this. You guys are going to be blown away because I was blown away and I had to share it with everybody else in the office because I was so excited. I was like, what? So, Team USA did win that game, which is great. Our women's team, just like our, national women's team. It's so cool because like they're doing so well. But okay, so they beat France 93-37. 93-37. So first of all, they creamed Team France. Okay. And can you imagine watching a game just in any kind of, like in the NBA, scoring 93 points is good, but I just can't imagine. Now, unfortunately, I did miss this game. And so I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this game for Team USA because clearly it must have been a very exciting game. It must have been a lot of fun to watch. A lot of scoring was going on, 93 points. And so like they had 25 points in the first quarter. So they started off on the right foot. They held France to only 16 points in the second half. And so that is one reason why they were able to crush France early on in the prelims. And so I'm very excited to see how the rest of these rounds are going to be going for our women's wheelchair basketball team. Now, our men's wheelchair basketball team is going to be faced off against Brazil. And the men's prelims have not started yet because they're going through the women's right now. Currently, Great Britain and Algeria had a game in the women's pool A, and the results of that game is that actually was also a really phenomenal and fun game, must have been, because Great Britain had 93 points and held Algeria to 31. So, these are exciting games that are racking up a lot of points, and so if you have not, so I actually just said that was women's. I'm sorry, that was the men's Group B prelims, Great Britain versus Algeria, with that high score. For the women's Group A with Great Britain, they actually played against Canada, and the results of that game is that Canada won. But that was a close game. That was actually a really close game. Great Britain had 36, Canada had 43 for the women's side, Group A. And so our men's team, however, has not competed yet. They are going to be facing off against Brazil later on today. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure they have, high expectations now that the women's team has crushed their first competition. And so we're looking forward to the men's wheelchair basketball team doing likewise against Brazil.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Best of Basketball Podcast 2016. You can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Golden State Media Concepts Podcast.com. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.